Oh God, I can go through track by track. So Garbage is kind of like a general summary, and it kind of sets up this dystopian kind of world and kind of asks a question of how can we move forward and build something beautiful of this garbage that we've been given. And the second track, Is This a Cult, is kind of referring to everything being a cult, whether it's like kind of health groups or politics, religion, sports even, like literally anything you could think of. And how there's always like some scary patriarchal entity at the top that needs to be overthrown. And then after that is Possession, and Possession is about abusive relationship dynamics, power and control, and how that can look like love and be disguised as love. And so many people go through like, narcissistic, abusive relationships, and I thought it was important to talk about that kind of dynamic. And then after that is White Boy with a Gun.
That's my favorite.
And that one is kind of about like performative allyship. I think it was important to talk about that. At first I was writing it from this perspective of like, men who kind of use feminist language to try to get with women. And then at a certain point I realized it could be about anything. It could be about like corporations using verbiage to sell more products to marginalized communities. It could be, about like white feminism and how it's not intersectional and doesn't include everyone. And there's so much that kind of, that song encapsulates. And then Disney Princess, which is about a young rising star in entertainment, and as a woman, how that can feel really defeating to have to be commodified and exploited and to not have a good support system and what that can look like. And then Grudges is about feminine rage, wanting to kind of express that cathartic. I think it's really common for women to be walked all over, and really hard for us to set boundaries and stand up for ourselves and kind of show our teeth a little bit without being called a bitch. And I think as someone who leans on that side of things, where I've like just always been like walked all over, taken advantage of, and it was like just such a constant theme in my life, I really wanted to write a song that embodied this kind of newfound, like, I don't give a fuck energy, even though I very much give a fuck, and it's very hard to do that. Monopoly Man, self-explanatory. It's about billionaires and how they're ruining the planet. Avoidant, which is one of my favorites. Avoidant is about a different kind of relationship dynamic that I've also encountered a lot, which is like, especially when you date men, I feel like there's a lot of societal pressure for them to not have their emotional net as open as we are. Vulnerability it's harder for them to express, and I think that it can lead towards running away from problems, and instead of working together, it feels easier to kind of just be avoidant, essentially. Yeah. Monolith, which is also one of my favorites. That one makes me cry every time. It's just such a like outpouring of emotion. I think it's my best attempt to express what it feels like to be an artist, and the amount of like just giving and outpouring of like love through music, and wanting to connect people together and help people through whatever it is that they're going through, and being an open ear in a way, or creating like a soundtrack to their life so that they can have someone there that tells them that they're not alone, and how lonely on the other side it can be when like no one's really there for you. Weight Watchers, when I wrote that song, I was struggling with like weight gain and trying to understand, I guess, what it was that I wanted to do. I was like kind of struggling seeing the rabbit hole happen in front of me of all these products that are pushed your way, like, here's the next blah 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 that you should do, or the next blah blah blah, or whatever. Like so many different products and things that are sold to you when you're in that kind of state of mind and you're questioning your body and how you look. And I just thought it was an important song to write, and I don't think anyone goes unscathed in that way. I wrote The Plague to essentially compare the plague to COVID. I thought it was an important one to write about.
Yeah, it's so biblical too.
Yeah. Thatcher Intelligence is kind of an anthemic song about corruption, and I guess like anger towards corruption. Gutters about the houselessness crisis. I thought that was also important to reflect. It's kind of rare for people to tackle a topic like that in music, because a lot of times people want to talk about, whatever, like light things in music that feel good and are fun and you can party to and dance to and have a good time. But I do think that it's important as well to try to create melodies and sonics around important topics to kind of open up new perspective to people. Uncanny Valley is one of my favorite songs on the record. Uncanny Valley was the one song that I worked on with Malay, who is also incredible, and it was such a fun session. And I just remember feeling so overwhelmed with excitement because it just felt so fresh and different for me, but it still kind of encapsulated everything that I talk about, but just in this kind of new era of like AI beauty standards and how that's kind of gone off the rails. Vatican, very important song. I grew up Christian, so I respect, you know, all people's faith and their desire for religion and coming together, creating community. There's a lot of times that organized religion can kind of weaponize spirituality and you know, abuse their power within those structures. And a lot of the times there's so much shame that is spread among the LGBTQ youth. And I just wanted to write a song about it, and that's my best attempt at it. So.
And that like pure desire that you were just saying to find community and find gathering is so sadly like easy to exploit.
Yep, exactly.
And that's why.
Yeah. Exactly. A song called Hell's Front Porch, and I knew that I wanted to write about the climate crisis. And my first attempt was writing a song called like Earl Grey or something, and I didn't like it very much, and it wasn't the best that I can do with that topic. And it being such an important topic for the record, I was like, I need to redo this. So then I ended up writing Hell's Front Porch, which was way more fitting, and I love that song. So yeah, there's like moments like that where like the theme will be really important, and I know I have to write about it, but sometimes the actual title and the song itself like changes and moves into different vibe. Chat Room is about online bullying and just thinking about how when I was younger we had like AIM and like MySpace and stuff, you know, and that was like where we experienced like the most kind of, I guess, online bullying, but most of it was like in person. So I can't even imagine what kids are going through now with social media. It's like a whole other ball game. And then my last song on the record is Last Two People on Earth, which is kind of like, I wanted to write just a love song amongst the chaos.
Yeah.
I thought it was important to end on some sort of transformational note, especially leading into the next record, which is the Utopian record.
And I feel like that's why this stuff matters, is because at the heart of all of the chaos and darkness is still people.
Yep, still people
connecting and loving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.